Thank you, Uncle Checo. That was wonderful. Very, very genuine and precious and important start to the day. I'm just going to say very few words, and then we'll get straight into it. Firstly, acknowledging WSPB as the sponsor for today. Thank you for last night, along with Lend-Lease, and very much appreciate your support for today. I also want to congratulate, and for those who weren't there last night, and we won't put you in the naughty corner right now, but for those of you who weren't there last night, I just want to acknowledge the three winners. So for the IS Project Award, it was Sydney Metro Northwest TSC. For the Organisational Leadership Award in Infrastructure Sustainability, it was Oricon. And for the Individual Leadership Award in Infrastructure Sustainability, it was Scott Lossy. So if we could just all give them a quick hand. Thank you and well done. So the only thing I'm going to say about today is to thank the speakers right up front. I think you'll note that it's quite an eclectic series of speakers, and I think it reflects the fact that we've always said that as a peak body, in the context of the rating tool and everything else we do with industry, we're well, in addition to environmental sustainability, we are about outcomes in the context of the triple bottom line, and not about trade-offs, but about win-wins, ultimately. That's the aspirational objective. It's an ongoing challenge and opportunity, and I think today's series of speakers reflect that. We have representatives from Treasury, from the employment side of things, as well as from the environmental side of things. So I think it's setting the trend now for the future for us as an industry. So thank you all to those speakers. Also, in the context of setting the trend and where this is going for the future, I think is reflected in our very first speaker. So we have Xiaoping Zheng from China, who has flown out expressly for last night and to present today. I think that we always have to learn from others. Australia has a lot to give to the rest of the world, and vice versa, we have a lot to learn. And I think learning always means you're one step ahead. Learning and listening and challenging. We like to use the words continuous improvement in our industry. And when you practice what you preach, you end up further ahead, both in the context of risk, in the context of finance, in the context of social license. So Xiaoping is a director of BAZO Group and has been leading BAZO Group in working with 27 China city governments, including Shanghai, Nanjing, Zhuhai, in a total of 1,850 square kilometres of sustainable urban development. It is amazing, isn't it, when you start rolling out some of these numbers. He's been invited to 11 countries representing China's investment strategies and opportunities. His other social activities include lead author of the book Creative China City, founder and VP of the China City Development Foundation. He was lecturer at the China Executive Leadership Academy, Pudong, for city mayors, and at the Harvard University of GSD Executive Program Institutional Investors. I know him personally, and I think we're privileged to have him speak today. Thank you. Xiaoping.
Thank you, Anthony, for the kind introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great privilege to be involved in an excellent event like this. Every time I come to Australia, I'm very, very humble because I feel there's so many things that China can learn from Australia. You are so much advanced and ahead. And because of that, I'm also very, very excited because I understand China and I understand if we can create a collaboration structure that enable two countries and peak bodies like ISCA and China to work together. There's so much value that we can create. There's so much environmental issue that we can solve. And there's so many things that we can talk to each other and do them together. So today, with that background, I talk a little bit about China. We have been in China for many, many years, 15 years now. Today, I will address three areas. One is China infrastructure overview. I guess that's the main interest area that ISCA member would be looking at. Second is how our foundation, China City Development Foundation, working together with ISCA and Greenwood City in initiating a China rating system, trying to build the common language between institutes so we can work better in the future. And lastly, I think that's the most important area that I want to address. I want to share a bit of a personal observation of how to engage China potential. And that's the three areas I want to cover with. First one is China infrastructure overview. This is a map of China. Everybody knows China is very big. China has many people. China has many cities. But that's a little bit abstract. We built this diagram to help to illustrate a little bit. Every dot on this diagram representing a city. So in the center, a bigger dot representing a bigger city. Shanghai, Tianjin, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou, each of them have a population of over 220 million. That's equivalent to the population of Australia. So China has 600, close to 700 cities right now. China has 2,000 townships, and many townships are quite big, actually. And China also has 2,500 development zones. All those numbers are increasing because of the single fact that China is undergoing the largest urbanization process in human history. And that's still growing, and that will still last for the next 20 years or so. So we felt extremely lucky to be in this huge movement. And China has 220 cities with a population of over 1 million. I think in comparison in Europe, they probably has less than 40 cities over a population of over 1 million. So that's the comparison between the population. We've been in China for 15 years, very lucky to be involved in this whole movement. We work around the country with many, many cities. We have just concluded a total of 30 cities in China. We work with Shanghai, Nanjing. Just give a case. We involved a project in 2003. I'm very proud. This is my hometown city. I was born in Nanjing. Nanjing has a population of 7 million people. The project covered the whole riverbank of Nanjing, which used to be a city protection wall with the ancient wall around the city. So we did this project, and eventually 5 years later in 2008, United Nations came to Nanjing and visited, and they found this project really resembled what the city of China should be doing. Sustainability, green, and providing a much better environment for the riverbank, for the people. So United Nations award a stroke of honor to Nanjing City. That's the first honor that China has ever earned for China. So that's one of the projects. I think 2 years ago, we first met Anthony in 2003. We were commissioned by Zhuhai government. Most of you probably don't know where Zhuhai is. This is Hong Kong. Everybody know Hong Kong. And this is Macau. And this is the whole of Zhuhai. Zhuhai comprises of a land area over 1,000 square kilometers. So 2 years down the road, we have completed proposal for Zhuhai government. It is a tremendous success because we involve many international advisory board to work together with us, including the planning chief from Gold Coast from Australia. And we also invite the Marina Association, Andrew, to work with us because Zhuhai is right in the same latitude of Gold Coast. They have the same weather condition. They have the great ocean front, many resources. There's so many things that China can learn from Australia. And after Zhuhai, we conclude that we want to do 15 major projects for Zhuhai. And we propose to the government. The government loved it. However, the total construction cost involving this project over a 20-year span probably come to 50 billion US dollars. And Zhuhai government said, well, we love all those projects, but we don't have the financial means to do that. So now we are not only finishing the proposal, we're also liable to help the city to bring consultants, to bring lead people like ISCA to find project financing mean for Zhuhai to develop. So that's Zhuhai. If we put Zhuhai back in the whole context of China, Zhuhai is only a tiny city in China. And there are about 80 cities around China that can do the similar development and advance into the future, talking about utilizing the marine resources or waterfront resources to the same project. So that just give you a little bit of background and illustrate how China is progressing with the urban development. There's a tremendous opportunity that everybody in this room can engage. And when we talk about China, we should not just look into China. Actually, China is investing around the globe, particularly to developing country. So I think when we talk about infrastructure in China, we should bring the whole world into context. And China has been doing that for many, many years, actually. And this year, China just announced the AIIB. It's a lead body would bring the investment into developing country, particularly in Asia. And also, China announced the One Belt, One Road scheme, which is also focused exclusively on overseas investment. That's the key drive because China felt they want to export contracting, they want to export their resources, they want to export their experience in sharing that together with the neighboring country. So 2 years ago, Mackenzie did a report predicting that China, in the next 18 years, until 2030, China will put 16 trillion US dollar into infrastructure. I think that may be an underestimation because in 2015, China will conclude 1.1 trillion US investment into infrastructure. In the outward investment, China actually, in 2013, China finished 200 billion US outbound investment, including the contracting. And last year, China grew that number to 240 billion US dollars. So that's the overall view. I hope I can give you a glimpse of what China infrastructure is involving and the scope and the scale that we are dealing with. That's the first sector. And the second sector come back to working with ISCA. It all started with a conference that Anthony and I both attended 2 years ago in the Green Leaders Summit. And I did the presentation, Anthony did the presentation. We love each other's content. And in the coffee break, we say, hey, maybe there's something that we can do together. So it all start from there. And then a year later, we have an MOU between Foundation and ISCA and the Greenwood City. And after that, thank Anthony for guiding us through. We have quite a few telephone discussions. We have email back and forth discussing the issues and all that. So now, yes, we did a lot of groundwork. Actually, I did most of the domestic groundwork. And we finalized two main concepts. One is China, in the building sector, China has 5 systems right now. It has a DGMB from Germany. It has a LEED from United States. It has a GASP from Japan. It also has a Green Star from Australia. Eventually, China said, no, that's too confusing. Let's have our own. So China has their own star. Now China building market has 5 systems, which in my view, it's total waste of energy and resources and confusing everybody. And that's something that we should avoid. So in working with ISCA, Anthony and I think the most important thing is that we want to create a system that unify the whole industry. So everybody talking about the same language so we can create so many efficiency when working together. So that's one main goal. The second main goal is China is very, very big. China is like a European country. So everybody is doing their own things. So in terms of infrastructure, we have industry best practice practiced by their own firm. I mean, each firm is like a little country. They do their own things. And then on the upper level, we have industry development guidelines. And this time, we really want to gear the whole thing up to a national standard, which is very, very important. And that's why this mission initiated from a coffee break really take a long time. So a year after, we established a structure that we are very clear of how to carry this forwards In between, I stationed in Shanghai. In between, I think for the past years, I traveled to Beijing probably no less than 20 times because all the decision makers, all the big boys are based in Beijing, so I have to go there and pay tribute to them and talk to them and convince them what we wanted to do. So that's the structure we want to go through. First, we will establish a research committee that composes the key government decision makers and the financial decision makers to lead this research. That's the first things. And secondly, there's quite a different environment between China and Australia. So even though we would want to base the foundation of the ISCA system, we would have to modify and refine the issue and then to build a China system which is fit to the China country. So that's the starting point that we're dealing with. We will identify all the participating party already. And the second stage would be the real research process that will involve a lot of China local institute, which are very, very important because they have a say in how the system would run in the future. That's very important. At the same time, we intend to invite World Bank, CDIA, all the international experts to join board because we want this to be a very transparent and international participation, collaboration. And after that, we will have an announcement in China, and we will have a running body who carry out the processing, and then eventually we will lead this system into the previous infrastructure that we're talking about. And there's a tremendous opportunity that we're facing. And later today, we will be discussing in more detail as how we carry out with the timeline and the steps. So that's the second area. And we come to the third area. I think that's the most interesting topic for everybody in the room. How to engage China's potential. Everybody knows China has a lot of potential. How to engage. I think we've been in China long enough to be able to express some of our opinion in that regard. I look at ISCA's member. You have a tremendous representation of leading industry institute, including contracting firm, including financial firm, including advisory firm. I think so many things that you can bring to China. Okay. I'll categorize our recommendation in 5 areas. Okay. First is engage early. Now China market is quite mature. So if you want to engage potential project, you have to go in early. I think in this regard, Singapore is doing better because Singapore engaged not only in the very beginning of the project, they engaged the primary land development. Actually, in my personal view, the most profit would come to land appreciation in China. Unfortunately, many countries do not see that and they hesitate. But Singapore really took advantage of that one and created tremendous value for their shareholders. So engage early. Engage high, obviously. Our chairman, she is in England right now. Last year, your Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, took a largest delegation from Australia went to China. I think this is the trend. It used to be a competition between company to company. Now it's a competition between country to country. So you have to form a team utilizing the influence from a government, from a body like ISCA, to take a lead, and then the member go along with that one to create a bigger structure for your member to engage, to negotiate better pricing for your member to engage. That's very, very important. And we are ready in a position like that. We can bring many, many potential projects to you. Engage with edge, that's very obvious. Each country has its edge. I think from Australia, your green concept, your fantastic environment, your sustainability concept, your financing model, particularly in the PPP model. China is crazy about PPP nowadays, but not many of them really understand what PPP is. I think Australia can do a great job in this one. And engage with partners, obviously, that's where we are, and we love to work with everybody of you if you take an interest in China. And engage creatively, that's very important also. You need to understand what's the problem that China is facing, and you need to provide your creative solution so you have an edge over other people. With that, I think I can propose 3 definite projects or direction that has a component of each of this recommendation for you to consider. Obviously, that's not only projects, but just 3 examples and the direction that we can all work together. Project Potential 1 is we are initiating a China agriculture multilateral collaboration area to the highest level. This project has been proposed to the State Council and is being highly recognized as a need for China's new development. China has some free trading zone right now. However, the free trading zone lack content and lack focus. And this is the 2.0 version of the free trading zone that has a very heavy focus component of the agriculture industry. I know agriculture industry is a little different from infrastructure. However, a zone like that all start with infrastructure. I think there's a great thing that Australia and China can do together along this project. So China and Australia, we can work together on this China Agriculture Multilateral Collaboration Zone. This will be a project at the highest level, controlled by the State Council, and I present it to you and I hope to attract partners to work together on this regard. Second one, we're working with the World Bank. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the World Bank sector called MIGA, M-I-G-A. Okay, I can explain a little bit. World Bank, the mission of World Bank is to help the developing country to do better. That's the mission of World Bank. So MIGA function as a catalyst to encourage capital flow from the developed country into developing country. However, in the process, the capital owners said, no, we don't want to go there. It's too risky. There's so many government issues that we don't want to involve. So World Bank said, okay, we form an insurance agency. You buy our insurance. If you encounter any problem in the government breach of contract, in the terrorism, in the civil war, if you earn money you cannot wire it out, we are liable. So MIGA function at that level. We talked to MIGA for 4 years. Eventually, the CCTF formed a collaboration with MIGA. So CCTF now is the only agent that we are qualified to recommend project to MIGA. So under this scheme, we create tremendous value because now China invests heavily overseas. And they don't have commercial problem. They don't have other issue. All their problem come from the government issue. The government changed their mind. The government changed the contract, so they lost. And they encounter civil war, they lost. So there's no outcome for them. Now we add the MIGA component, it helping them to reduce the government risk. So in this regard, we are working together with MIGA. We want to share this resource together with you as well. If we create a project investing into China, China is still a developing country, is considered covered by MIGA. If we work together in overseas projects, like the developing country in Asia and in Africa, we can bring MIGA together. So this really adds a layer of safety to the investment project and the operation project. So this is the second area. China and Australia, we can work together with World Bank MIGA to reduce investment risk. That's the second area. The third area, obviously, China has many contracting firms. All of them want to do projects, major projects overseas. Actually, they have been doing that already. Many firms investing in over 70 countries worldwide. And China has many banks. All the banks cannot do projects. The banks want to follow the contracting firm to go overseas so they can lend out their money. So that's the key drive intention behind. And here in Australia, you have contracting firm who do globally. You have a financial institute. There will be tremendous value that we can create it together. We can form structure by combine those force from both countries. Actually, I met a gentleman, Russell, last night. His firm is far advanced from what we're proposing right now. John Holland is working very closely. as a shareholder together with the CCCC from China. I think they're creating a very creative structure. We're utilizing the edge from both countries, reducing the political color of China firm go overseas to invest, and utilize the best management resource and the worldwide connection by working together. And the bank loved it because by forming such kind of a connection, the project is actually safer, more sustainable, and they can provide more capital supply to that region. So with that, China and Australia can go after global potential infrastructure projects, not only within China, but global, in a global context. So to conclude today's presentation, China has great potential. China is undergoing, I just repeated, the largest in human history, the urbanization process. We hope and we invite you to participate. There's so many things that we can do together. And we look into China, we should not only look into China, we should have a global perspective because China invests internally and also invests globally in that regard. And in between, China and Australia can really work together. And actually, I had a dialogue with Austria before I come here. We concluded that China and Australia enjoy the best government-to-government relationship. They have the lowest political risk in that regard. So I think that's a sound foundation for many wonderful collaboration. And with that, thank you very much, and thank Anthony Iska. Thank you.